Hi, everyone. This is Dean Crisp. Welcome back to Straight Talk on Leadership. So excited this week to have with me Sergeant Mike Walker from the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. Mike is a survivor of being wounded in the line of duty, and I think you're going to love this show. You're going to listen to Mike talk about his story. You're going to hear Mike talk about how it happened, what happened, and how you yourself, if you're involved in a situation like this, or how you can help your folks as a leader be prepared for a situation like this. And we're going to learn about life. So if you will, sit back and enjoy and listen. Remember, we're trying to share the growth here. All right. Got it? All right. Now, Andrew, here we're going to go with the intro to the show. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Here we go, Andrew. Hey, folks, welcome back to Straight Talk on Leadership. I'm your host, Dean Crisp, and thank you for joining us. And I'm so excited today to welcome Sergeant Mike Walker with us. And, you know, Mike is a sergeant from the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office in Alabama. And Mike is a survivor of an incident where he was shot in the face and shot in the chest with a shotgun. And we're going to be talking about him in just a minute. But I want to remind you and thank you for listening to Leaders Helping Leaders Network, Straight Talk on Leadership. We've been getting a lot of calls, been getting a lot of texts, a lot of emails about people listening. Our subscribership is going up every single week. All you got to do is hit that subscriber button, and then you'll be notified, and we'll send you an email out when we drop a new episode. We're going to be dropping those episodes about every single week, and we've got some really good things planned ahead. And, you know, we've been doing the ones on mindset. We've been talking about how do you grow as a leader. We're talking about, you know, the bigger picture. And, you know, we are really excited about those things. And so please join us, and you can also join in at lhln.org. That's our website, and you can go on there, and we also do a blog weekly. And we're doing a series on what I consider to be the 4 critical or the pillars of leadership. And that series, we talk about mindset, we talk about self-reflection, we talk about emotional intelligence, and we also talk about self-healing. We're already up now to number 2, which I consider to be very important, emotional intelligence, and we're going through all those emotional intelligence items. There's 5 of those, and I think you really enjoy that. So folks, continue to listen and continue to join in with LHLN. And if you get a chance to attend our classes, our class list is on our website. And we what we call our class is Intentional Leadership, Lead with a Purpose, which is our signature course. And we're going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. We're also going to be in Georgetown, Texas. We're going to be in DeKalb County, Atlanta area here soon. And we're all in all parts of the country and also in Florida. So if you would, you know, join in, look at those. And if you can get an opportunity to attend a live class, I believe it'll change your life. So with that being said, I'm going to welcome in our guest, Sergeant Mike Walker with the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. And Mike is a 8.5-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps. And I know he's extremely proud of that. And Mike has served overseas in Iraq. And Mike has really served his country in a great way. And he's been in law enforcement for about 16.5 years. He was with the Mobile Police Department, and he was also now with the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, where he currently holds the rank of sergeant. And we got Mike on the show today because Mike and I, we ran into each other, or we met each other through a class with FBI LEADA, which if you can't attend the Intentional Leadership, I encourage you to attend one of the FBI LEADA courses. They're extremely great. They have the supervisory leadership, the command leadership, and they also have the executive. So if you get a chance to attend those, actually Mike and I met at a course in Escambia County, Florida, which is Pensacola. And it was kind of strange that I really didn't notice that Mike had an issue, and you really can't see it with his left eye. But I noticed, you know, in about a day or 2 or 3 when I was talking to Mike that there might have been something there. And we started talking about, well, kind of tell me about yourself. And he never mentioned the fact that he'd been involved in a police shooting and was a survivor of a police shooting. And I kind of had to get it out of him. And then Mike told me about it, and I was just struck immediately by his story and the compelling nature of how that happened. And, you know, I've kept in touch with Mike, and I'm just so impressed with how he's dealt with all these issues, and so impressed with his desire. And when we started doing the podcast, I called Mike up on the phone, and I said, Mike, you know, I want you to consider coming on the show and kind of giving us some tips and some ideas and kind of talk about surviving a gunshot or surviving a police shooting without hesitation. He said, man, I'll be glad to if it'll help somebody out. So that's the kind of fellow he is. And I think you're going to really enjoy Mike as a guest here. So Mike, how are you doing, my friend? Good to have you with us.
I'm doing great, Dean. Good to see you. Good to be talking with you. Glad to be here. Ready to do this Helping Leaders Network thing. I
Well,
think it's a
Mike,
great idea. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Mike, thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about you, Mike, in terms of your family. I know you're a family man, and I know you're married, and you had to have somebody standing by your side, I know, when all this occurred. So tell me a little bit about your family.
You probably, and I got to talking about her, you probably want to interview her next because she's way more stronger than I ever was. She's the backbone of the family. My wife, Monica, great lady. When you talk about these kind of situations, sometimes they kind of get, pushed back to the back, or they're just considered, that deputy's wife, and that deputy that got shot, that's his wife, but they're really and truly the backbone of the whole thing. She was there to help me through it all. She was there to get the kids. I got 2 kids. I got a 13-year-old and 8-year-old. They were 11 and 5 at the time. My 11-year-old, pops his head out of the room, and there's a uniform officer sitting there in the couch at 2:00 in the morning. And he's like, "That's not my dad. He knows something's wrong."
Oh, yeah.
So she did that side of it, handling that side of it, and when you, once you talk about, an officer involved shooting or whatever, they are affected probably just as much, if not more, as the officer himself, especially when it deals with family and how they're perceived. And, everybody wants to talk to the deputy, "Hey, what's going on? Are you good?" Or, really sometimes they kind of get pushed to the back, and, that's your backbone of your family. They need to, sometimes you got to remember them.
Oh, yeah.
She thinks she's just that deputy's wife, but she's my deputy's wife. She's mine. I'm great to have her, and I'm great to have my kids and everything. And everything's going well with them.
Okay. Mike, that's to hear you say that is so compelling, to hear that you give credit to your wife and your support of your family for making it through such a, a tough instance like that. And so you've been with the sheriff's office there for about 11 years, and then you're a sergeant now. So I see you in a tie there. So, I haven't really quite seen you that dressed up before. I mean, know what I mean?
That's because, after the incident, so my incident, if we kind of get into that, DC,
Can I ask you something about that first before we do it? And I hate to interrupt you there, but
no.
I'm going to take you to that night with December 19th, 2017.
Okay.
But just do me a favor, if you will. This is what I call straight talk on leadership, the no bullshit network, if you will. So if you do me a favor, don't mention that bastard's name that was involved in that shooting. So let's just refer to him as, because I don't want to give credit to those assholes on this show who choose to shoot at a police officer and as violent, as nasty as he is. So we don't want to give credit to that asshole. So if you will, let's just refer to him as either whatever you'd like to refer to him, but I'm going to call him an asshole. Okay. If that's okay with you. Okay. So if you will, but we'll refer to that individual as just that individual, if you will, because I don't want to give him any credit on this show. So let's take you back to, if you don't mind, Mike, to December 19, 2017, and kind of tell us, and we'll just sit back and listen to your story, and let's do it.
Yeah. So it wasn't, I had just not long got back from my first FBI leader class in Birmingham, with Dave, and man, I'm trying to think of he's the guy from New York. He's very eccentric. He dressed very.
You're talking about Les Kacharik, and we refer to Les as it's kind of Elvis-y a little bit. Nothing personal, but he knows that. And Dave Allen, what a great instructor, Dave Allen. Oh man, love him to death. Great guy.
And so that was my beginning of the FBI leader kind of stuff. Well, I've been, when I was in the Marines, I went in the Marines when I was 18 years old. And I started learning leadership there. Now it was different. I didn't understand it at the time, and I'm still growing in my leadership. I'm still growing in understanding it, what I need to do, how I can help other people, and it's a constant growth. It's you learn something. If you stop learning how to lead people every day, then you're just sitting still. And it's kind of like with the SWAT team, I always tell them guys when we was on theirs, if you're standing still, you're wrong, because if you ain't looking for work, something's wrong. But, I started learning about leadership in the Marines, and I had some great leaders in the Marines. I recall them today, Staff Sergeant Carpenter, and, a couple of other masters. I think he's a master gunnery sergeant, Benedict. He's out in California now. He was my first team leader, and I took stuff from those guys and took it with me and brought it with me all the way when I got promoted, ended up being a sergeant with the Marines and got deployed to Iraq and had my guys under me. And I tried to take my best leadership attributes that I learned from these guys. These guys, they're who I learned it from. Now, there were some things that I didn't like. Well, if I didn't like it, then I try not to use it, but as a leader, I think you have to, first, you got to know how to follow. Got to know how to follow somebody. And for a long time in the Marines, I had to follow. That's the way it was. I was the low man on the totem pole. When you're low man on the totem pole, you got to learn how to follow, and it takes you a while to understand it. Like you've talked about in some of your other podcasts, your bigger picture, it takes you a while to see that and how to actually apply that to your life. Being intentional, like you say, you want to be intentional. That's great. Sometimes you got to run with it too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You got to run with it, and you got to go. You're like, God, I'm going to be intentional on how I lead. I'm going to be intentional on, everything that I do. I'm going to be intentional in raising my kids. I've got a point that I want to get through to them. So, the leadership started many years ago of learning it. And this kind of brought me to where I am today, sitting here in this nice little blue tie that I chose to wear. I had to change some of my leadership after that night. I'd been patrol-driven guy my whole career. I started Mobile PD, 3rd Precinct, running and gunning, doing, what a young 27-year-old cop does. We jump out and we chase anything that runs. That was the mindset 15 years ago. And as you came up through it, and I've come to Baldwin County, experienced the things that I have, got promoted, and now I sit here as a sergeant, and I can't go out and run my own squad. I'm still tied to some of the, it's tied to some of the workman's comp things that, I believe I can do anything.
Right.
Now, when you get into that part of it, you got workman's comp that says, hey, Walker, you ain't got one eye no more. It doesn't bother me, but, they look at it, and this guy's 43 years old. If he loses another one, then we're having to deal with a blind 43-year-old. So I kind of see where they're coming to. And sometimes you have to take a step back and look and be like, all right, what's best for me? Maybe, and that's what I've had to do a lot, I've had to change my leadership since that night.
Well, let's take you back to that night, and let's give our listeners out here kind of a little bit. What happened? I mean, what happened that night? I know it was on December the 19th, 2017, and so I know you were working patrol and you're answering a domestic disturbance call where a lady had actually been pushed off a bridge, and I think if I remember reading the story right and even talking to you, you knew the individual that was kind of accused of all those things. So take us back to that night and kind of walk us through what happened.
Man, it's just a regular, your normal, everyday, run-the-mill, law enforcement day. You coming on at 6 o'clock and it's 90 to nothing. There's calls jumping. One of my guys was actually out. I was the corporal on the north end of the county, and Baldwin County is pretty big. It's roughly 80-something miles from north to bottom.
Wow.
And it is very, very huge. And then the north end of the county where this occurred is kind of densely populated. It's more, rural, very basically from the nearest town, a normal drive is about 30 minutes up there.
There you go.
To where all this is going on. So we get a call, and I remember I was eating dinner. It was probably about 8:30. I call it dinner. I was eating a sandwich at Sonic because that was about the only thing that was left open, in this little town that I live in.
Mike, you're not helping our image there when you're talking about Sonic, okay?
Yeah, I know.
It's all good though. It's all good. I
Well,
understand those midnight. You're
well,
working at night shift.
well, guys on patrol and guys on nights, they know that there's limited options after a certain
Yes,
time.
that's for sure. Yeah, it's Sonic or the Waffle House. All right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
exactly. Especially in a small town where everything closed down at 8:00.
So you're just having a normal day.
Yeah.
And
So we get a call that comes out, and her and him's up there fighting. It's nothing unusual. We've dealt with them multiple times. It's like, oh, here they go. They're at it again. So we start moving that way. Basically, the call comes in that she had been thrown off of a bridge, that he had thrown her off the bridge, and now she was being transported private, POV. She's being brought down to the hospital. So we start heading that way, and we're getting other calls that, trying to find out where he's at, trying to make sure she's okay. And we eventually run into her, like she's coming south. There's only one way up there and one way back. So we end up passing her, stop. We're talking to her, and she's like, "Hey, he threw me off the bridge. I'm hurt."
she's driving a car now? She's driving?
Well, she was driven by her mother and her aunt.
Okay,
So they went and got her, picked her up, put her in the car.
And she survived about 10-foot fall, right? Like she
Right.
actually fell off a bridge. He threw her off a bridge with intent of, I would imagine, trying to kill her.
That those two is a bizarre situation.
Right.
The guy, that from that night, we'll call him the guy.
Yeah, there you go.
I've dealt with him multiple times. This isn't my first incident with him. I arrested him for DUI back in 2010. I come to Baldwin County 2008, 2010. I arrested him for DUI.
So these guys are frequent flyers for you, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Known, we know them.
And you see the mother, do they flash their lights at you or something? Or
yeah, so
how do you know it's?
we're talking to them. She's got her flashers on. And what I'm saying, this is a rural road. This 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and there's not much more going to be coming or going. So we see her, we stop her, we get her, medical's there, we get an ambulance, get her checked out.
Is she looking like she's been she in bad shape or?
So that was one of our deals that was kind of confused about. She's sitting there saying that she's thrown off a bridge. Well, in my mind, if you're thrown off a bridge, got bones sticking out, you're
Right.
There's major injuries. And
okay.
I'm looking at her and the deputy that's with me, we're looking at her and we're like, man, it's not making sense.
It not adding up, right? Doesn't add up.
Right. She's got some scratch marks on her. She's got scratch marks on her face, on her arm, but she is just screaming bloody murder that she's,
okay.
She's hurting. So we can't tell anything. So at that point, we know that if we go mess with him, it's going to be, there's something. He's going to run. He's going to fight. It's like, look, man, we got right now.
Because he's known this way.
Yeah, right.
He's got a violent history. This cat, and
he's known to run. He's a known narcotic user. He's known to be armed. He's known all these things.
Mm-hmm.
We've dealt with him over, it's 2017. We've been dealing with him since 2010, 7-8 years, and it's progressively got worse.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
So we ship her off to the hospital. We decide, I guess it's maybe my decision. I said, man, it's right now all we got. I know she's saying she was thrown off a bridge. I ain't got no evidence proving that. I send my guy up there. I said, man, look for a scene. See if you got something. Look where you threw her off the bridge at. See if you got something. And I said, let's send her to the hospital and see what they say. See what kind of injury she has.
Well, you also know that if you talk to him, you're not going to get any, you're not going to get any clarification. And he's damn sure not going to say, hey, I threw off a bridge.
Oh
He's
yeah.
going to be confrontational. And, if any time you're going to have anything to do with him, you're going to have a problem. So you're going to need to have a little more than just her story, because this is probably not the first time you dealt with him and her in a domestic.
Right.
So
There was an active protection of abuse order from her not being around him. So we're just like,
okay.
So you already got that. All right. We know they're not even supposed to be around each other. There's an active protection abuse order against him for her. Let's see what her injuries are, and we'll move forward from there. So you fast forward till about, everything runs normal, that I'm answering calls and stopping cars, doing our regular, Baldwin County deputy stuff. And my guy runs up there and he checks it out. He comes back and he's like, man, there's no crime scene. It doesn't look like nothing, nothing there. And then the mother calls from the hospital. So the mother calls from the hospital. And so basically she has a broken scapula. She has punctured lungs. She has fractured ribs. She's got like a broken femur. She's got these major medical problems that you couldn't see just looking at her. So at this point, it's like, man, we're in
a different category now. I mean, we're in an attempted murder. We're more than her just making a complaint against her husband. There's actual physical evidence now that she's been involved in some type of battering, if you will. Battering.
Right. Now from where she's saying she was thrown off the bridge, now I got the injuries that go along with it. Now that's part of, later on when I get to speaking about what I was, some of the key points that I wanted to get to is now we got our justification.
You got your probable cause.
Right. So at this point,
well, Mike, let me say something right here for a second for the audience that's out there listening. And we know we got a lot of police folks who are listening, and they understand when you're dealing with this kind of he said, she said, you guys made sure she's got medical treatment. You guys make sure she's taken care of. You just got to find out more information. This is not her first incident with you. This is a multiple thing that goes on, and she's got an order to stay away from him, and she willingly goes up there. And so you're just not real sure what's really going on. And so you guys do your due diligence and find out from the hospital, here we go. And now, all right, so what happens from that point?
So at that point, basically way Baldwin County's broke up, there's 8 areas. I was actually working area 1 where that occurred. No, I was working area 3, and it's split up. So the deputy that's working that one that talked to the mother, he tells me the injuries. I was like, hey man, I said, we gotta go. We gotta go talk to this guy. My thought process at that point, I said, she's got punctured lungs, she's got broken bones. So what if she dies? And then they're gonna look at us and be like, man, y'all didn't even try to talk to the guy.
Right.
So you're looking out at, now we have to go. We need to go. Crime doesn't sleep.
Right.
Yes, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Right. He threw her off the bridge. Domestic violence has no time. There's no time that I can't go investigate it. So me and the 2 guys that are up here on the north end, so they're junior to me. I tell them, hey, let's meet up. So we meet up, kind of get a little hasty plan of what we're going to do. And I call 2 other guys that are down south further. And I say, hey guys, y'all move up north. We're going 3 deep up there. So it's me and 2 other guys, one that's so far away. It's going to take us 30 minutes to get up there. 2, now we're going in numbers. We know that we've had trouble with this guy before. I'm not going up there by myself. You go in numbers. It's a smart thing to do. So we go do that, and I'll get into some of our planning and some of the mindset that we had at the time as we go on. But so we go up there, we make our approach. So jump out of the car, I go do my assignment, and my assignment was left side of the building,
Now you guys pull right up to the house.
Yeah. So there, and that's one of the options that, I kind of question at this time.
Yeah.
Because his house sits up, it's kind of up on a hill. So he's got if you park down by the road where that's at, so you're going to have to go up an embankment, up his driveway, and then you cross about 150 yards. I've been there before. You cross 150 yards of open field. It's like
okay. So you're going to take your cars as a tactical.
And that was my part of the tactics. I was like, man, I don't want to cross that 125, 150 yards, and he starts shooting at me, and I ain't got nowhere to go.
I got you.
So we decided to do that, and I take the left side. One's assigned the middle, and one's assigned the right. 1 minute from the time that I step out of the car and I'm making my approach to the back of the house, and I'm using all your tactics.
Right.
I'm calling out stuff.
And you're not a junior guy here. You're an 8.5 year Marine. You're also got probably 12, 13, 14, 15 years into this time.
Yeah,
you're a SWAT team guy. You're the tip of the spear, all that stuff. So you're not just running up there saying, here I am. You're using everything that you know and been trained to do to approach this individual's house.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working my angles on the approach. My point was, let's get me and the other guy situated on the left and right side. Normally he runs out of the back of the house, or he runs. So at least let's get a semi-perimeter set. I'll get over there. The right side guy get in his spot. The guy in the center is going to go up there and knock on the door. If he comes out, he comes running out the back. Hey, bring some more guys. Let's get some dogs. Let's do what we're doing. So as I'm approaching, I don't get sucked into the corner. I'm playing my angles, and I'm like, man, I don't want to go up there. There's a lot of trash up there. There's an old truck, and so I kind of walk around this older enclosed trailer. So at the 1 minute mark, when I pie that corner of that trailer, he shoots at me the first time. Like I seen him, and it's one of those.
Now, where is he?
He is standing at the corner of the building, pointed at me with a long gun.
Okay, so you see a long gun at this point.
Yeah. So when I pie that corner, and I get where I can see him, and I'm like, oh man, you at that point I'm at the ready. I'm not. I'm looking. I don't know where he's at. But then I see him, and I'm behind the 8 ball at that point. I was like, I can't even engage him.
Does he fire right away?
Oh yeah. As I'm falling back, I'm kind of peeled back to my left, taking cover behind the enclosed trailer. He fires his first shot.
Well, let's say one thing about this in terms of tactics, where our listeners out there, and again, there are probably a lot of law enforcement folks out there listening, but somebody who might not listen, when you describe, when you pie the corner, tell them what you're doing.
So pieing the corner, and the concept of pieing is reducing the less of me where I can see more around that corner. So I'm trying not to expose, I'm exposing as little of me as I'm looking around something to get the best vision I can see around there. And you're doing it slow. It's just like
right.
eating a piece of pie. You can't eat a piece of pie at one time.
These guys, right. So these guys and that watch TV see these guys just run in here, and they don't really take where they conceal. And there's one thing here that I think the listeners and certainly people in law enforcement, we can help them with, is there's a difference between cover and concealment, and cover versus concealment. In concealment, they shoot through it. In cover, you actually have. So you're taking all this into consideration, where you're cover, concealment, all those things. And so when you pie that corner, you peek is basically what you're doing, right. And bam, he engages you. All right.
Right. He engages. I swing back. I think I took something to the arm at that point.
How many rounds does he fire?
He fired one right there. I didn't know if it was shotgun, rifle, and I just knew it was loud. And when you see the muzzle blast off a gun, you really don't know what it is. You just know it's loud and it's somebody's trying to hurt me.
Did you see? Did you see it? Did you see the muzzle blast? I mean, did it take you? Did you see that or the gun first?
I seen, like, he was there. He was standing there, and I don't know if he seen me
Coming up.
Approach.
Now we're talking about 1 o'clock at night, right?
Oh yeah, it's 1 o'clock. It's, you know, we're in a rural area. You know,
right up there, dark.
Yeah, it's dark. It's, you know, ain't no street lights up here where we at. You got to pump sunshine in.
So do you remember seeing it or hearing it first?
So I knew like when I seen him, my first reaction was get back behind the enclosed trailer.
So boom, cover. All right, I got you.
And I'm talking about as soon as I seen him, I said, get back. And as soon as I was falling back, I was like going straight back. The shot went off.
All right, gotcha. Now you don't get hit then.
No, other than maybe like a little glancing something. I got a scar.
Debris,
on my,
maybe. Debris.
I got a scar on my right arm that I don't know where that come from. Okay. So I'm guessing maybe it happened there. I'm not 100% sure.
I got you.
So. But yes, it was heavily wooded area up there where he lives.
So Mike, can I stop you for a second and ask you this question?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know what they're going to do when they actively get involved in gunfire. And when somebody's there, you're not sure if they're going to approach you. So you back up to take cover in case he's coming and proceeding forward, you know, tactically approaching you. You hear that. You remember what you were thinking?
Oh yeah, there's a pucker factor there. I mean, I was in the Marines. I've heard, you know, in the Marines, when you go to the rifle range, they put you down there working they call it the butts, and so you work the targets. You know, in the Marines, one of their reasons that they do that is in the Marines. You know, when you're shot at, it's a distinct sound. It makes a distinct sound when bullets come flying by your head. Well, in the Marines, you're down there working the butts, putting the targets up for the guys that are out there on the range shooting. Right. You hear those bullets come by you.
Oh yeah. There's a very distinct sound of a bullet coming back.
They are letting you, you know, they're kind of getting you in that mindset of, hey, this is what a bullet sounds like when it comes by you. Mm-hmm. You know, and so
if you don't know what that sounds like, I can only tell you that this is not about me, but I can only tell you that there is a very distinct sound when a bullet is near you. Let's just put it that way if it doesn't hit you. So let's just say that. And you can tell it. So when you fall back, you're like, uh-oh, here we go.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, and at that point, you know, hey, it's kind of, you know you're in something. And I'm not saying that I did everything right. I'm not saying that, you know, my way is the right way or, you know, my way is just a way. You know, and that's the way I tell guys when I did SWAT. I said, you know, my way is not the way. It's just a way.
So you know, when you hear this, bam, all right, you hear this go off, you fall back. Now what do you do?
Yeah. So when I come out from around the enclosed trailer, you know, I revert back. You know, you're going to revert to your lowest form of training.
Oh yeah.
And I'm on with my entry rifle for the SWAT team, you know, and the AR-15, and I dump about 30 rounds back at that corner of the building.
Okay. So you're stopping the threat by, and I would guess that at this point, Marine Corps kicks in when you're sending rounds down range, that you're saying you got to stop that advancing threat and letting them know.
That's what I'm saying. He shot. When I come out from around, I know that when I come out from around that trailer, I want to get back over there to my car. You know, that's where I'm wanting to go. All right. So I'm providing distance, you know, the whole distance thing. Distance is a friend. It's just at this point. Distance gives me time to react, time for my mind to see and be able to process what's going on, so I'm wanting to make that distance.
All right.
So I run back to my car. I think my video's going. I reach
Now,
in
what are you
there.
carrying? You said 30 rounds. Are you carrying a rifle?
Yes, I'm carrying my
AR-15? The
AR-15.
AR-15. So your patrol rifle, you're
Right.
laying that. Well, how many rounds in that magazine?
There was 30.
30.
Well,
So
I keep 25 in mind. That's just easy.
Did you empty?
Easy counting. So
did you empty it, or did you have to reload?
So how I remember is I stopped by the driver's side. I reached in to turn my camera on. Your camera rolls back 30 seconds. So my body camera, it done went dead. It's only got so many hours in the shift that it's going to work. So as we're driving up there, that 30 minutes drive up there, it tells me, hey, powering down. I'm like, oh man, my body camera's going down.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about that stuff. You think about those things.
Well, you're also, let's tell everybody, you're a corporal too.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not like you're just driving up there with straw. You are actually the lead guy. You're the guy making the decisions on what you're doing. So in terms of leadership role, I mean, I think it's amazing that you would think about those things before you get there, which, shows a great deal of thought. So you reach in there. So you're actually telling me you're under fire and you reach in there and turn your dang camera on, and then
I think I did.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So it's like a iPad that controls our camera stuff in the car, and there's like 6 little blocks on it. Well, the record looks like it's like a yellowish orange.
Right.
And so when I reach in and hit it, I see a yellow and orange. I say, oh, good. I said,
it's
great.
Recording.
It's going to record back 30 seconds. It's going to show him shooting at me. So then I go around to the passenger side. I dump a little cover and fire back over there. I grab 3 magazines. I put 2 magazines in my vest, and I put 1 in my back pocket. And I drop back to the back of the vehicle.
Okay.
Now we're at a standstill.
So so let me ask you right here. And what's the other deputies doing? I know you said you went up there with 3. So 2 and other 2, which, I mean, when you're under fire, certain things happen. We understand that. So,
and at the time, I didn't know what they were doing. I'm concentrating on my piece of the pie.
I got you.
How you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. You can't eat him all at once.
No, I got you.
How's wars won? Small battles. You don't just go out and win the war and say, hey, we won the war. You got to have small battles to